Hey y'all, happy Mask Monday. We have a super special one today. We're gonna do something that I've wanted to do literally since I started using this paint. As you can see, we've got 24 blank skulls. These are mini latex masks. And then I've got the 24 color set for motion picture effects. These are the Mabry Monsters Night Shades. It's the paint that we sell at Nightmare Toys. It's the paint that I use in like most of the videos that we do on here. These skulls were sculpted by Justin Mabry. So thank you, Justin, for letting me use these. I think it's cool because the color palette that Motion Picture Effects uses for the Night Shades are skulls. And so again, thanks a lot, Justin, for letting me do that. Again, a huge thank you to Motion Picture Effects for supplying the paint so that I could do this. Again, it's just been like a dream to do this project. It's just one of those things that's so expensive and so time consuming that like it's really hard to get around to doing it. So also I grabbed the masters. So this is what Justin gave me. This is from like the two-piece mold of the actual sculpture that he did. It had like a seam line on it that I trimmed and dremeled and cleaned up, and then I made 3 copy molds. You can see the size difference. A lot of times people ask about shrinkage in latex masks, and so this is a good example. There is like definite shrinkage, and this is just one generation away from this. As you can see, like, you know, I only had 3 molds of these. You could only make like 1 casting a day. You could really rush it if you wanted to, especially in dry Vegas heat. But you want to let the mold dry out in between and blah, blah, blah. It's just a good idea. Like typically you do like 1 a day. I'm saying all that crap because you can see that there's some different colors to the masks, and it's because the older the mask is, the darker it'll get, especially if it's exposed to sunlight. The darker ones are just going to be these primary colors because they're I think that they'll just cover them nice and easy with no problems, and I'll just do a couple more coats on them. You know, it's nothing crazy. This row right here is the skin tones, so I wanted to keep those as close to like fresh latex as possible. And then, you know, you get into like the light greens and stuff are kind of lighter, and then you got some like dark browns and grays and stuff. And then here we got into the reds. The reds, you know, are gonna just cover that like kind of brownish yellow up quite a bit. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So again, thank you so much, Motion Picture Effects. Look at these brand new, fresh, clean bottles. Like this is what I usually use. So it's very nice holding fresh, new bottles. So thank you so much. All right, let's do some painting. I'm gonna be using an airbrush. You could definitely brush them on. You could use like a cheap chip brush like this, which is what I typically use, or you can get still cheap, but a softer bristles. That'll go on, you know, nicer and more even with less, you know, scratch marks. But once it dries, it pretty much evens out with the latex paints, and then you do a second coat where you'll go back over the other direction and kind of just get rid of all that. You don't need to thin these out very much. It'll actually spray without thinning. I like it better when it's thinned out a little bit with distilled water. And then a lot of people say you want it to be like a milky consistency. With the latex paint, I like it a little thicker than the milky consistency. And also do not put alcohol in this paint. That's like one of the biggest beginner mistakes of using a latex paint, is trying to thin it with alcohol. This is the best shade of black ever. Yeah, the Fright White is just very white. This is the color I would get for a Myers mask. Like, there's always a lot of argument about what shade of white you should use for a Myers mask. For me, this Fright White works perfectly. Obviously, you can mix all these colors together as you want to, and a lot of times if I want a lighter shade of one of these colors, I'll start with a white base, and then I'll start mixing in, you know, the color to get a lighter shade of that. So Fright White, it's just straight up white. Black, this is like literally like my favorite black. Like, and I know it sounds silly, like you think of black, it's just one color, but it's not really, you know, like if you see a whole bunch of different things that are black, almost all of them will be a slightly different shade of black. This is just like a true classic black mask paint. Like if you look at like the base for like a Dawn Post skull or something like that, or just whatever, like it's just a really great true black, and it looks awesome on latex. I just love this shade of black. It's Black Sabbath. Red Rum, again, just a very good red color. I mix a little bit of this into skin tones usually to just pink them up just a little bit, but it's awesome just as a red. Like if you want like some really crazy red eyes or something like that, it's a great color. Yeah, very red. Street Trash is blue. This shade of blue is pretty bright, and it mixes with the red to make a really nice purple. It's just very true blue. It's bright and nothing too fancy about it. Contamination is yellow. I really like this shade of yellow. I mix Contamination into a lot of stuff. You know, all these primary colors I usually don't use just on their own as a base, but you could technically get any color using only these primary colors. But just with that in mind, I like to start with some of the other more refined colors, and then I'll mix these primary colors to just get them a little more yellow or a little more blue or whatever. So I use a lot of Contamination mixing with a whole lot of like of the zombie tones and the greens and stuff like that. Yeah, but it's really just a really good yellow tone on its own. Nilbog. Nilbog's my favorite name. It's goblin backwards, and the green tone really does look a lot like the green used in Troll 2. It's just a really good green. Once again, I'll use this to mix quite a bit. It's very, very green, so there's not a whole lot of monsters that would be just this base tone, but if you did this green and then did like a brown rub out or something on it, probably look really cool. But again, it's just very bright green. All these primary colors are just very vibrant, bright versions of that, you know, primary color. We're halfway through painting this like 3D color scheme thing. So we got the Creeping Flesh Light, Creeping Flesh Medium, Creeping Flesh Dark. I really like the Creeping Flesh Light. It like really reminds me of like the 80s Distortions masks. This is like medium's just like a perfect, you know, like classic kind of flesh tone, which is really good. And then dark, as I've kind of said in the past, is like a great like Myers mask base. You add a little bit of red to this. It's like a perfect like kind of orangey skin tone, you know, like army man kind of color for like a Kirk base. And this one was interesting for me because the light is like very yellow compared to the medium. The dark seems like, you know, like a lighter shade of the medium. With these paints, I think it makes a lot of sense looking at them like this, because something like this, a lot of times you'd want to like base your mask in medium and then do like an up spray in dark, you know, spray up all the low parts and do an up spray in dark and then do a down spray in light. And so I think it makes a lot of sense having a little like yellow in there for the highlights to make it pop a little bit more and just bring out those colors that, you know, so it doesn't get too like chalky. The next two colors, these are the two colors I use the most, Slime and Ghoul. They're my favorite colors. So let's paint them up. nasty pea soup. Just gross green. I just got done with like the next 6. This is like my favorite lines, are like the ones that like I use the most, you know, the skin tones in these. So slime, this one's obviously a lot brighter yellow and got some more green in it and stuff. But this one's still pretty yellow. Like I still feel like these live in the same family really well, so I think that's really cool. But yeah, slime's an awesome color. It looks really cool on there. I use it for a lot of stuff. Ghoul, like I said, you know, ghoul is like my favorite color. It's just a really, you know, nasty, you know, like pea soup, puke green zombie. It's really great if you know, base a mask in ghoul and then do like a brown rub out and like some green highlights, so you'll get a really nice like zombie pretty quickly. I like that color. This one's really cool. This was like a nice kind of surprise because I usually like mix infected into a lot of things, but I've never really seen infected on its own. And this is really cool. It's like it's obviously gray, but it's got a lot of like blue tones in it. And it's pretty similar to like a light Payne's gray. You know, it's cool. It's got like green in it too, like Monumeld or like NSP gray, like sculpture, like now, like with that, because it's that like green gray kind of look. It looks kind of like stone up close, but then it's got that like greenish blue tone to it. So this one's Decomp. This one we all in the garage decided is our favorite, like on its own so far as for the skull. That dark brown just looks really, really cool as its own. Like that could be, you know, completely done, or if you did like a light, like a black rub out on that, it would look nasty. It would look super cool. This is Far Gone, and Far Gone is the paint that, like, I kind of mix these two together a lot when I'm doing like the kills brown, covering up the yellow. I'll use these two a lot, and but yeah, Far Gone and Decomp, I use these a whole lot. These are really cool colors. Dirt Nap, obviously it looks like dirt. It has like a lot of like reds in it, and so it kind of feels like that, like, you know, again, like Thunder Mountain Railroad, kind of like red, dirty terracotta or terracotta color or whatever it's called. But yeah, so it's got that kind of like southwestern kind of color to it. That's super cool. I like that a lot. I'm gonna set these up, and then we're gonna do the last set of 6, and we'll be good. Dead Meat is really cool color. It's definitely kind of like, you know, a progression from the Dirt Nap. Those again kind of live in like the same family to me. Like obviously pushing the red further into the Dead Meat, because that's a really great color. This Humanoid is awesome. This one as a base, before I really blasted it, looked awesome. And it's still, this color is awesome too. It's really cool. When I was just doing just a little of it, like before I did the second layer, was a really, really cool kind of like skin tone color. So yeah, just a really, you know, pushes the pink further with the skin tone. This one's skinned. This one really looks like if you've ever like skinned your finger and you see that like super bright red like flesh, it really looks like that. And so that's clearly where the name came from, I guess. So yeah, it's a really kind of bright, hot pinkish red. This one is a really great color. It's like a very purple maroon. So just, you know, like, you know, red, brown, maroon color, but then it pushes the purple a lot further. So yeah, that's a really cool color I use for a lot of things too. This is Gore. This one's awesome. This is a great maroon color. Really good, like dark, kind of blood, like maroon. This would be like a really good color after you've done like say a skin tone base, and maybe you've done like some speckling or some sponging or something to build up some pigments, and then you want to go in there with like those like red, stretchy highlight areas and stuff like that. This would be a really good color for that. And finally, Spook Show, which is kind of the wildest color out of the bunch. It's obviously like very turquoise. It really pushes seafoam green. But yeah, Spook Show is really cool. This color is like most notably for Justin's stuff on his like Spook Show ghoul, I think it's called. He's called like Spook Show, and he's a very scully looking guy, and he's this color with like some like yellow teeth and like black in there. That would look like really cool, like tribute to his Spook Show. All right, that's going to do it for this week's special edition of Mask Monday. I hope that if you're interested in buying these paints, this helped you kind of see, again, the shades as they're dried on latex. Huge thank you to Motion Picture Effects for supplying me with the paints and the latex to do this project. Something I've wanted to do for a really long time, so they helped make it possible for sure. I'm really excited that this display is actually going to be at the Motion Picture Effects store in Burbank. And then also a huge thank you to my friend Justin for letting me use his mask and displaying his paints in this way. Really cool being able to collaborate with Motion Picture Effects and Justin to get this done. So visit us at nightmaretoys.com, where we have all of these paints for sale. Go to motionpictureeffects.com. Also follow Mabry Monsters on Instagram. And that will do it for this week's Mask Monday. I'll see you next week.